Today I'm going to talk about using a gallery walk in an online classroom. I'm going to begin by showing you how I used a gallery walk in my real classroom, and then show you how I created a very similar process to use in an online classroom to engage students. Let's begin. In a real classroom, I would start class by showing my students a table that looks like this. I would give them each a sheet of colored paper and help them fold it into 12 boxes. That was always a fun hook to get all the students engaged at the beginning of the lesson. I would then tell the students that rather than having me tell them what goes in each of the boxes, they were going to figure that out themselves by walking around the classroom and finding the words, the figures, and the definitions. Let me show you what that looked like. Here you can see all the words, the figures, and the definitions which I lined up. I would have it on a similar piece of paper so the kids could always pick it out from the various things on my wall. And on the small pieces of paper, I'd have the words. On the medium-sized pieces of paper, I'd have the figures. And on the large sheets of paper, I'd have the definition. By having the words and the definitions posted around the classroom, the students had to walk around and mix and match the correct words with the definition. If they were confused, there was plenty of students walking around that they could ask advice for or communicate with. Not all the students knew all of the words, so they had to do a process of elimination and think about the definitions of the words, compare it with the images and the figures that they saw. In this way, this type of activity both engages students by making them actively think and talk about the vocabulary that they're working with, and also builds a sense of community where they're communicating and working with each other to get this done. Here's what it looked like. So in this case, you would see, this is the same example from the page before, I would have it posted in the corner of the classroom. In this photo, you could see what it looked like with students engaging in this. In this case, I was using green sheets of paper, and the students walked around identifying features of the triangles in the classroom and helping each other out. Here's another example of students working on this in my actual classroom. The final results look something like this. This is a student study guide that they got from that activity. As you see, they lined up the words, the figures, and the definition. If you look closely, you can see a couple of erase marks. That's okay. The students make mistakes, they learn from their mistakes, and when we go over it as a class, the students get to describe what they did to each other and fix their mistakes as a whole, rather than me simply telling them what to do. So how can this work online? I created a very similar gallery walk with Envision App Whiteboard. If you have not watched my video on this whiteboard, I recommend you do so because this is one of the most powerful tools I found in online teaching. So I set this up before I gave it to my class. Firstly, I would make sure that it was Kenview only, because I don't want the students moving things on this whiteboard, because I want to be able to use this with multiple classes. Secondly, I titled the definition of what we were doing, the Geometry Vocabulary Gallery Walk, and I identified that in gray would be the vocab word, in yellow would be the definition, and in red would be the figure. Now, because we're online, I think the most powerful way to use this is to put students into breakout rooms. The students can be in breakout rooms of 3 or 4 students, where all of them can access the same whiteboard. They can then work together to do exactly the same thing they would do in the classroom, and that would be to zoom in, to find the definition, to find the figure, and to find the correct word to match with each other on the study guide. You can choose if you want to have students take notes online or to take notes on paper. As a math teacher, I'm particularly careful about having the kids write everything down because at the end of the day, solving math problems is a process of writing most of the time. But I understand if you have different needs for your classroom. By having all of the students on the same board, they have to learn how to communicate and help each other out to solve these problems. They'll have to explain where the correct word is, where to zoom, what the answer is, and discuss about the different definitions that they're working with in order to work together. When you're finished, you can pull the whole class back together, and you can have them explain the different things that they did, or choose or the reasons that they chose the definitions or matched them the way they did together. In this way, the students are performing a little bit of a different task, but you're getting the same results. And those results being engagement, the kids are actively engaged in doing something that's not just writing. They're communicating with each other and building that sense of community, and also carefully thinking about the words and the definitions as they mix and match so that the definitions become more meaningful to them and hopefully they remember them better. If you like this video, please like it and hit subscribe to my channel.